As you all know, I'm a huge Hunger Games fan, and while I was working on my Gale video, which by the way is coming soon, so look out for that, I'm trying to put a lot of work into it to make sure it's perfect. But anyway, while I was working on that, I found out that the new title of the new Hunger Games novel was released, as well as the cover. I covered the initial announcement for this book, and I promised I would give you guys any updates, so here we go. For the original announcement, all we got for the title was Untitled Pan Novel, and they said it would be released in May 19th, 2020. They told us that it would take place 64 years before the original series, which was the 74th Hunger Games, meaning that this one will take place during the 10th Hunger Games. It will start on the morning of the reaping, just like the first book did. Collins stated that for this book, she wanted to explore the state of nature, who we are, and what we perceive. And for the actual time period that she chose for this novel, it will focus on the Reconstruction period 10 years after the war, commonly known as the Dark Days, as the country of Panem struggles back on their feet. Collins went on to say that the new novel will provide fertile ground for characters to grapple with these questions and thereby define their views of humanity. The war that Collins is referring to in the Dark Days was what started the Hunger Games. The districts rose up and lost, and as punishment, the Capitol made them participate in the Hunger Games every year. When the first announcement came along, Ellie Berger, the president of Scholastic, said, "Suzanne Collins is an expert storyteller and world builder, and in revisiting the world of Panem, she again raises important questions about authority, the use of violence, and the truth of human nature." Now we finally have the cover and the title of this book, and it actually tells us a lot. The official title is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The cover depicts a mockingjay sharing a branch with a snake, and it has a green and black cover that's very reminiscent of the other book's covers that were black, red, and blue. David Levithan, the VP, publisher, and editorial director for Scholastic, had this to say about the new cover and title. "This cover does an extraordinary job in capturing the conflict, both inner and outer, that lies at the heart of Ballad. The Mockingjay has returned, but at a new angle, which is very much in line with the story that Suzanne Collins is telling. So just like the other three books, this fourth book continues the pattern of having the Mockingjay on the cover, which I absolutely love." According to statements provided in a press release by Scholastic president Ellie Berger, the Mockingjay in this cover is meant to be representative of Collins' approach to this novel's message, which raises important questions about authority, the use of violence, and the truth of human nature. So let's break this down and dive deeper into it. In my last video, the cover only had a feather on it, and I speculated that that feather was part of a bird. Birds always having deeper meaning in the series. And clearly I was right, because I think this feather is part of the Mockingjay on the cover. Me speculating, I believe that the Mockingjay represents the districts, while the snake represents the capital. In the original books, the Mockingjay was the sign of the rebellion, Katniss herself even being the Mockingjay.
"This is the revolution, and you are the Mockingjay."
But before Katniss even donned that mantle of the Mockingjay was already a sign of rebellion. They were the result of Jabberjays mating with mockingbirds. Jabberjays were mutations created by the Capitol, and they sent them to spy on the districts. But eventually, the districts figured this out and gave the birds misinformation to relay back to the Capitol. The Capitol looked very foolish and scrapped the project, releasing the Jabberjays. And according to Katniss, this was sort of a slap in the face for the Capitol. When the Jabberjays and the Mockingbirds mated to make Mockingjays, though the Jabberjays died out, Mockingjays were always a reminder of the Capitol's failure. All of this with the Jabberjays, Mockingbirds, and Mockingjays took place during the Dark Days, so about 10 years before this book takes place. So all of this rebellion with the Mockingjays was already started, so it makes sense that the Mockingjay on this cover represents the districts. Meanwhile, it makes sense that the Capitol is a snake, because that's literally what they are. When I think of Snow, the most famous Capitol citizen, all I think of is a snake. The fact that the two are sharing a branch means that at the moment they coexist, despite being at odds, the Capitol greatly overpowering the districts, especially when they bombed District 13 to end the war so recently. The districts have real fear for the Capitol. This system of the districts working for the Capitol is much more solid than in the original books. No one wants to rise up at this time because they saw the true power of the Capitol. Meanwhile, 64 years later, people are tired of this system, and the power of the Capitol isn't as drilled into their minds as the people during the 10th Hunger Games. So it makes sense that the snake, the Capitol, and the Mockingjay, the districts, are on one tree branch. Their system works, but over time it would fall apart, and eventually that would lead to the Second Rebellion with Katniss as the Mockingjay. And this is just me speculating. We don't have that much information, so there's not much to go on. But for me, I feel like that's a pretty good guess of what it could mean. Again, me speculating. Some possible characters that this novel could focus on are Mags, who we saw as Finnick's mentor in Catching Fire. She was alive during the events of this and would be 15 for the 10th Hunger Games, though we do know that she participated in the 11th Hunger Games, so that would be 1 year after this book. Another person that could be alive at this time was President Snow. He was 1 during the first Hunger Games, so for the 10th Hunger Games, he was 10 years old here. I doubt he's going to be a main character, but I think it very likely that there could be an Easter egg or a small mention of his character somewhere in the book. And another possibility for a character, and possibly even a main character, is the first District 12 victor. He was dead at the time of the original series, so clearly he lived a long time ago, which could actually fit perfectly for this novel. We know almost nothing about him or what Hunger Games he won, so I would not be surprised if he was brought up. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the movie that will go along with this book. Lionsgate, the production company for the other 4 films, is already working with Collins on this. And this makes me kind of nervous, because Collins should not be focusing on the movie. She should be writing the book and the book alone, nothing else. At the same time, I love the movies and I love the books, and it would be great to see another Hunger Games film on the big screen. But I don't know, I'm kind of nervous about it, and I'm kind of nervous about this book too. Tell me what you guys think. Do you think you're gonna like the book and movie, or do you think you're gonna hate it? Do you think it's gonna fail? Do you think it's gonna succeed? Let me know in the comments below.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. You can follow me on social media to see more of my personal life and see more of this little dude. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook for Movie Flame updates. And I want to give a huge shout out to all my patrons listed below. If you want to be featured in the next video, plus get a bunch of other rewards, become a patron today. Again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you press that like button and subscribe, and look out for more great videos on the way.